A tragic plane crash, a disgusting news conference, Elon Musk pressuring the FAA director to resign. Let's look into that. Welcome to Scrying Out Loud. My name is Trevor. So, as I'm sure all of you know, there was a horrific plane crash a few days ago over the Potomac, and a lot of people died. Uh, I watched the felon that occupies the White House's press conference, and it was very disgusting, to say the least. A few weeks ago, I had mentioned that I thought there would be a public event where he was speaking that might change perceptions about him, and in particular about his health. And I'm curious whether this was actually the event, because if you watch it, it is very hard to watch for a multitude of reasons. But there was some slurring of some words. There were some just sentences that made no sense. There was completely illogical. It was trying to place blame on things that really have no blame. But I am curious, did they feel the need to place the blame elsewhere because they feel themselves are a little bit culpable, and particularly with Musk's actions, which led to the FAA director resigning? So let's start there, and then we'll look into how the press conference um, is perceived, and we'll look at whether the investigation into the crash will find fault with the administration's handling of the FAA. So let's first start with um, the question of did the felon in the White House and the administration feel the need to blame others because they themselves feel that they might be held um, accountable for their actions with respect to their handling of the FAA before and after they took over power? So, did they pass blame because they felt culpable for this accident? So I'm seeing the Seven of Swords, which is often a thief card, but I guess in this case it could represent trying to pass blame onto someone else. I'm also seeing a lot of anger and hurt, which makes sense, but anger directed at them. I think we might start hearing about that in the coming weeks as people start to go through the grieving process. So did they try to pass blame because they felt culpable? Well, maybe. We get the Seven of Cups. This is the illusion and delusion card. They're definitely deluded about the way the public is seeing this incident. And we get the Hanged Man. This is about pausing and suspension. This is their challenge. Basically, what happened was the FAA director resigned, and they made some executive orders which changed the way federal employees viewed themselves. And so at the time of the crash, there was a lot of like unknowns. That's what I feel that Hanged Man is about. And then underneath, we get the Magician. This is some dark energy trying to manifest an excuse and blame others, which we have seen them do before. In the past, we get the Ten of Pentacles. I actually think this is just the crash itself. It's the inheritance card. A lot of the people on the plane were very young, but the feeling I'm getting from this card is it's just about the crash itself and the victims. Um, we're gonna get things coming to light soon. We have the Moon card in the sky. That's good. Things will be coming to the surface. We'll learn a little bit more about exactly what was going on behind the scenes that led to the resignation and what else was going on in the FAA. There's a lot of fighting in the near-term future. They're going to be fighting to try to change the narrative or keep the narrative focused on these ridiculous excuses, such as, diversity and equity playing some sort of role in this crash when it's clearly just um, the lack of air traffic control. We get the Queen of Wands. So I think whoever's leading this investigation, that's who I feel this is. They're very passionate about their jobs, and I don't think they're going to be influenced too much by the administration, or we'll get that the administration is trying to change the investigator, which would of itself um, be problematic for them. We get the King of Wands as well. So again, I feel like there'll be a lot of effort put into this investigation as there's most plane crashes. And there's going to be a lot of passion about the report when it comes out, because I do think it's going to find them slightly culpable. And that makes sense. Now we're getting the judgment card and the hopes and the fears. The hopes is that the right people are held accountable so that this doesn't happen again. I mean, it had been many years since there had been a plane crash of this magnitude in the United States. And then the outcome card, we get the Three of Swords, which is about heartache. This makes perfect sense. Just kind of confirmation that we're reading on the right stuff. We get the Hermit card. It says isolation, feeling alone. I think that's more about the people who are grieving. And then we get the Ace of Cups. We get a new beginning. There'll be some things changed because of this crash to improve safety. That's what that card's about. So, yeah, I do think they're trying to deflect. You get circles of support around money. They realize they're wounded in battle. They realize they made a mistake. Well, let me rephrase that. They realize that people think they made a mistake. I don't necessarily know that they care, and that's seems pretty cold, but that's kind of how I view it. We get the Eight of Cups as well. This is walking away from things that no longer serve us. I feel this is a pull away from the administration. We get the Four of Pentacles. This is the miser holding on to his money, or in this case, I feel like this is the felon holding on to what he perceives as his reputation. And now we've had this tower moment, and essentially all the energies are up in the air, and a lot will depend upon what is found by the investigators as to what caused the crash, and particular what was done wrong. Okay, so will the public view um, Elon Musk as having some responsibility? So will the public view Elon Musk as having some responsibility? I almost feel like there might be, if the report comes out and blames the resignation of the FAA administrator, almost feels like there could be some civil suits. I don't know that they'd be successful. It seems a bit of a stretch, but they would maybe send a message at least. Well, Elon must be seen as being culpable in some way with respect to this plane crash. Yeah, it just, the tower card seems to be kind of the energy. It's kind of like, what is he doing and why does he have power over the government? And I think there might be some backlash from the victims' families with respect to him. He feels anxious about it, that's for sure. Um, the challenge is an inevitability. The three of wands waiting for one ship to come in. That's the challenge. The challenge is I think we have to wait for the report to come out. And so in the subconscious, we wish things were moving faster. I don't think they will. In the past, we get wish fulfillment. This is Musk getting the director to resign. That's what he wanted. He got it. In the sky, we get the Ten of Pentacles. Again, the inheritance card. This is just, it's really about the victims, right? And their families. And that's the way people are perceiving this. They're not perceiving it as anything yet. In the near future, we get the Eight of Swords. I think this is a good card. I think this is saying that Musk is going to feel constrained in some ways going forward with his words and his actions. Now, maybe that's my bias, but that's kind of what I feel. Um, but he behind the scenes, he's making plans. He's getting ready for all sorts of possibilities. But the people will have a say in this matter through, the media, through actions. Um, we get the King of Cups. This is the card for, I'm sorry, the Knight of Cups. This is a message coming forward that could be kind of surprising in some way. And that's in the hopes and the fears. I think that's a hope that we get the truth and the truth isn't diluted based upon the administration's point of view, that they really don't have a say over the investigation. They shouldn't. We'll maybe read on that another day if we start to think that they're influencing that. Um, we get the Five of Wands as the outcome. So lots of fighting, arguing. We get circles of support. I think this is for the victims and their families. And then we get the Moon card again. Things are going to come to the surface. It's just going to take some time to get to the bottom of exactly why there wasn't proper um, oversight of the flights that day. We get the Four of Cups. We get Justice underneath. That's a good card. And we get the King of Swords and the Page of Swords. This is the spy in the camp. A message coming forward about money. And then we get the World card, which is the end of a cycle. I think that this could has the potential, if the public wants it, to kind of end Musk's influence over things such as who's in charge of the FAA. Now, whether the citizenry takes those energies and uses them is a different story, but the energies I think are there. And I have a feeling that the victims' families will start to speak out shortly. Um, and by shortly, I mean probably a month's time, right? It takes some time to grieve. Okay, so the big question is, will this press conference be perceived? How will this press conference be perceived? How will the felon who currently occupies the White House's press conference on the plane crash be perceived? It was very hard to watch. It was very jumbled. It jumped from kind of topic to topic. It made no sense. Didn't feel like it was about the victims at all. It just felt like it was about trying to cover himself. And it was very odd and disgusting. So, how will, that's my perception, but let's see, how will the people perceive the press conference by the felon who occupied the White House? The press conference on the plane crash. How will the public perceive that? So, see the Five of Swords again, which is about being wounded in battle. I do think he's going to take some hits, as far as his um, perception of doing a good job. So we get the Eight of Swords, which is about confinement. I think this makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people aren't willing to go there just yet. for the fear of being perceived as minimizing the tragedy. Um, but that will lessen over time and quickly. We get the Knight of Wands. This is generally speedy, passionate messages. That's the challenge for the felon that occupies the White House. Um, the people speaking out are going to be very passionate. They're going to have a very heart-wrenching story to tell, and they know that what he was blaming things on is just bogus. But he's planted some seeds for the MAGA base. That's what he thinks he's done, I should say. We get the Knight of Swords. This is things getting out of control, messages coming too quickly, and it's in the past, which makes me think this is the press conference itself. So I think that's kind of confirmation we're getting the right cards. In the sky, we get the Fool card. That's interesting. This is people having a fresh look at his leadership, taking a new approach. In the near term outcome, we get the Page of Swords. This is a spy in the camp. It'll be interesting if there's any stories that come out about what he said or was doing shortly after the crash. Watch for that. I'm getting that. I'm getting that, yeah, he said some things in what he thinks was a private setting about the crash, but it's going to come out. It's like his first reaction to the crash was exactly what he said in the press conference. Like he just immediately, for entertainment purposes only, it's like he just immediately went to blaming uh, people for this rather than a normal reaction, which is, you know, OMG, this is horrific, this is horrible, which I think is what most of our reactions were. Uh, he's got a very, delusional view of how he's perceived. So, um, we get the Eight of Cups. This is walking away from things that no longer serve us. I think he kind of realizes that he's probably not as popular as some people think he is. And inevitability is coming in the hopes and fears. This is good. This is, I think, going to be the report. This is waiting for one ship to come in. When that report comes out, I think it's going to be kind of damning towards the administration. And at this point in time, we're kind of in a state of pause and suspension with the hangman. This makes sense. It's again, it's kind of, that, I grew up in the Northwest. We call it like the Minnesota nice, we're not going to talk about this because it's too soon type of attitude, but that's going to go away. And then we get a victory and intergenerational relationships. So I do think it's going to change some minds. There's lots of burdens for the felon in the White House and an end of a cycle. It might be the end of the cycle of him getting away with like this kind of utter nonsense. People are going to start to perceive that differently. We get messages coming forward about money. Almost makes me wonder, was there some money issues around the FAA guy being not forced to resign, but basically being attacked so harshly that he resigned? And then we get the Seven of Swords. They're trying to get away with something. So I think we just need to stay tuned and keep our focus, and I think we'll figure out what it is they're trying to get away with. I think it's probably fairly simple that they're just trying to get away with the fact that they know that they're culpable um, by the actions that was happening inside the FAA before and after they took over because they were going to take over. All right. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'll be back with another video soon.